Who is Knull in Venom: The Last Dance? Hello and good morrow, friends. Welcome back to Nerdist. I'm Kyle Anderson, and today we're going to look at the super secret, yet already announced, villain of Venom: The Last Dance, Knull, the king of the symbiotes, the god of goo. We still, as of this recording, haven't seen Knull in the movie or any trailers, but the character has loads of important backstory in the pages of Marvel Comics. But who is this guy? Why does he get to have a regular head and everyone else has a slime head? And how does he canonically relate to Thor Love and Thunder villain Gore the God Butcher? Well, we're going to talk about all of that today. Plus Sony's assertion that Knull's appearance in Venom: The Last Dance is only the beginning for the character. A trilogy, even. Sony's gonna Sony no matter what happens. But if you'd like to read all about Knull, Eric Diaz has you covered over on Nerdist.com. Alright everybody, let's goo it. The Marvel Universe has no shortage of devil figures in its pantheon. Mephisto, anyone?
Mephisto.
Seemingly every hero will eventually fight an evil elemental or cosmic version of their own, and in Venom's case, it's Knull, the god of symbiotes. So the Marvel Universe has villains named Knull and Void. Incredible. Created by writer Donny Cates and artist Ryan Stegman, Knull's first official appearance was in 2018's Venom Volume 4, Number 3. Technically, he first appeared as a nameless entity in Thor God of Thunder number 6 in 2013, a full 5 years earlier, but more on that in a moment. In just a short span of time, he became one of Marvel's most powerful villains, and one of the arch-enemies of Venom, and to a lesser extent, Thor and the Silver Surfer. As the main antagonist of the crossover event The King in Black, he became a threat to practically every hero on Earth. Knull is an entity older than time, created after the destruction of the 6th iteration of the cosmos. When the godlike Celestials created the 7th iteration of the cosmos, what we think of as the 616 Marvel Universe, they offered Knull the title of King in Black, tasked with watching over their new creations. However, when the light of creation came through, it devoured his kingdom of eldritch darkness. That's where I live too. Knull rebelled. He created a secret weapon, the Necro Sword, also called the All Black, and used it to murder one of the Celestials. Outraged by this betrayal, the other Celestials banished Knull deep into the primordial void. The head of the Celestial he killed went with him. Using that head, he created the first symbiote, combining it with the remaining celestial energies within it. The head would eventually become Nowhere, later the home base for the Guardians of the Galaxy, fun fact. The first symbiotes Knull created in the earliest years were forged in heat and noise. I mean, join the club. In doing so, he unintentionally gave the symbiotes their weaknesses to high sonic frequencies and fire. These symbiotes were an extension of his own consciousness. Knull forged a symbiote armor and began using All Black to start killing other gods. At some point, he crash-landed on an unnamed planet where the creature Gore took the All Black from the incapacitated Knull and became the God Butcher. Later, Gore the God Butcher became a major enemy of Thor after killing multiple gods. He was also in a movie nobody liked.
I renounce you.
As a reminder, all of this was revealed in 2018. Don't you love it when comics do that? Tell you things are far older than they have any right to be? Case in point, let's take a look at Knull. I mean, look at this guy. Despite having cool heavy metal hair, Knull's suit of armor looks an awful lot like most symbiotes, complete with a symbol of an arachnid-adjacent thing on his chest. This is like Venom, right? Makes perfect sense. Well, why does Venom have a white spider on his chest? Is it because when Peter Parker first found the alien costume on Battle World during the events of the original Secret Wars, it molded to his look, complete with his usual spider emblem? Yeah, so we're to believe it's entirely coincidental that all symbiotes have an 8-legged thing on their chest because of an eons-old deity, and also Spider-Man just happens to have one too? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'll be the first one to ever say this. Comic books are silly. Over 1,000 years ago, a gigantic symbiote arrived on Earth, hoping to assimilate our world into the symbiote hive. This is when a younger Thor Odinson came to Earth to battle the symbiote, who was shaped like a dragon and which local Vikings and villagers called Grendel. Get it? Like Beowulf. A lightning strike summoned by Thor's hammer Mjolnir shattered the connection between Knull and his symbiote hive mind. Now roaming the cosmos and free of Knull's control, the symbiotes began bonding with new hosts and learning about something other than just endless darkness. The symbiotes rebelled against their god and master, containing him inside a world made of billions of symbiotes. They named this world Clintar, which in their language translates to cage. Didn't think that hard. So what can Knull actually do? What does being the god of symbiotes mean? Well, get ready for the most metal shit ever. As the god of the abyss, the immortal Knull has superhuman strength and durability, obviously. He can fly and has regenerative powers that allow him to heal from almost any injury. Knull has the power to create and manipulate the eldritch darkness. Sure, of course he does, naturally. He can also create weapons and living creatures out of pure darkness he can control remotely. Many of the symbiotes he created have different powers and different shapes, like the dragon symbiotes. As a shapeshifter, Knull can transform his mouth into a set of enormous fanged jaws with an elongated tongue, a trait he passes on to his goo boys and girls. This brings us to the King in Black crossover event, which began in December of 2020. After a millennia, archaeologists discovered the remains of Grendel. Several S.H.I.E.L.D. scientists tried to hone its power for military use, but it only served to reactivate their symbiote connection to Knull. Years later, he returned to full strength after a conflict between Eddie Brock, aka Venom, and Carnage, two symbiotes on Earth. Now back at full power, Knull destroyed Clintar and created a suit of draconic armor for himself. He then created a fleet of symbiote dragons to conquer the universe, starting with Earth. When he attacked the Earth, it took Venom, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men together to defeat him. But it was Venom who gave Knull the killing blow, becoming the new king of the symbiotes as a result. So as awesome as the King in Black storyline is, how can Sony hope to do it, or any of Knull's nullifications, justice when The Last Dance will be, as reported and titled, the final outing for Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock? One thing we know is the Venom movies have been the closest thing Sony has had to hits since beginning the Spider-Man-free Spider-Man live-action universe. Go watch our discussion of Sony's Spider-Man problem for more context there. So the studio could just reboot the series and/or recast the role of Eddie Brock. Wouldn't be the first time they've done that within a couple of years of the end of a trilogy.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Another idea could be using a different version of Venom. In 2011, Peter Parker's childhood bully and Spider-Man's biggest fan, Flash Thompson, melded with the Venom symbiote after a stint in the military. He became Agent Venom, performing missions for the government. Flash can't stay bonded to Venom for more than 48 hours at a time, or he risks the symbiote controlling him forever. So this is certainly a thing that could happen. I'm not sure it will. But then, what else do we got? Speaking to IGN, Venom: The Last Dance's director and co-writer Kelly Marcel hinted at a big future for Knull. She revealed, quote, "As the fans know, there are many, many more symbiote stories. The universe is wide and rich, and one movie could never do justice to Knull. Beyond this trilogy, there are more stories to explore. God is coming." While Knull may not be the main villain of Venom: The Last Dance, Sony Marvel is setting the scene for him. Marcel continues, quote, "We were always aware of Knull, but knew that we needed to lay the foundation of the Venom character and his relationship with Eddie before introducing Knull. This is just the beginning for Knull. We're in spoiler territory now, and we hope some of the fun of watching this movie is not knowing what will happen. But trust me, we know full well how important Knull is to the fans. So just as we laid the foundation for Venom, we hope we are doing the same for Knull. The King in Black is way too powerful for one and done," end quote. I mean, I certainly agree with that, and Marcel's comments seem to suggest Venom isn't going anywhere, just Eddie Brock who's taking a step away. So maybe it will be Agent Venom or some other Venom host after all. It's almost refreshing, in a way, to know Sony actually has something approaching a plan for its universe, that it's heading somewhere. For too long, we've had to endure these meandering franchise movies made to hang on to the rights. Having a villain focal point, especially one as big and awesome as Knull, could legitimately end up like Sony's Thanos, provided it gets enough runway. But do I think this will happen? No, not even a tiny little bit. Let's say Sony gives us Agent Venom. Cool, who else you got? The King in Black storyline crossed over dozens of characters across several Marvel Comics titles. Sony has Morbius, Madam Web, and I guess Kraven? That ain't enough. That ain't it at all. And who is to say that any of this will even matter going forward? The Sony Marvel universe is on life support, and if Venom: The Last Dance underperforms, we may never get to see the full Knull. But tell us, what do you think? Are you looking forward to seeing Knull, briefly, on the big screen? Would you watch an Agent Venom movie? And seriously, what is the deal with the emblems on the chest? Why is that millions of years old? Let us know in the comments below, and for more of that good goo you love, keep it gooed to Nerdist.com.